Right, okay, let's check these edit notes and see what we've got. What the fuck is this? Ugh. For fuck's sake.
What happened?
No, I clapped, and then whilst my hand was flailing about, I almost tipped my Kentucky Mule all over the desk. But fortunately, I didn't.
Oh, very professional podcast we got going here.
Yeah. I mean, we're all professional now, so it has to be. So I think this is the first time we can officially say, hi, welcome to Podcasting is Praxis, and it's the free one. You're here without the paywall.
I feel bad that as soon as we turn pro, that we are stealing Trash Future bits, even though Riley was on the last episode, or on the premium episode.
We're not stealing it. He's lent it to us. We've been given a loan. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I mortgaged the Patreon payments to Riley over a significant number of years, but that's all right. Don't worry about it. It's cool.
Oh, is that to pay for your fancy plate dinners then?
If you want to get that joke, you need to subscribe to the Patreon.
Yes. We did actually put out a quite good episode, if I do say so myself. So do subscribe to the Patreon, where our first ever premium episode is now available. Go to patreon.com/praxiscast for the low price of £5 a month, or £10 if you're generous, or £500 if you're Elon Musk. Elon, come on the pod. Or at least come on the Patreon, so we can buy more biscuits.
Did you just knock over a load of Skittles?
No, it's the coaster. The condensation on the outside of my Kentucky Mule makes the coaster stick to the glass.
I've got to be honest, Rob, the more I hear about this fucking Kentucky Mule, the more grief it seems to be causing.
I'm just waiting for you to pour it all over your fucking keyboard like the clown you so clearly are.
I'm beginning to think that if Rob was recording this in an actual bowling alley, it would be less of an interruption, to be honest.
Yeah, fucking hell, mate.
Well, I did tip a whole mug of coffee over my desk like half an hour before we started recording the preview episode. So,
while riding a unicycle and playing a jaunty tune, I assume.
Yes, certainly. Well, and
how else is he meant to get around Cursed Castle at any appreciable speed?
With a litter, I presume.
Yes, borne aloft by my undead servants.
Deary me.
Anyway,
so is there an actual episode here, Rob?
Yeah, why not? I think there's an actual episode. Shall we start with
to go with the juggling?
The first thing was something that you posted, James, about remote heating units.
Oh yes,
yeah. This is in parts of the US are undergoing quite a catastrophic heat wave right now, but don't worry about that. That's perfectly fine and normal to have that this early in the season.
Catastrophic means good, right?
Yeah, catastrophic.
Or am I remembering my English wrong?
Yeah, I mean it's only we're mostly through June, and the US is already close to hitting its hottest ever temperatures, and 200 local heat records all across the western US are expected to be broken. Wildfires are already out of control in 4 states, and 4 more states are expected to have catastrophic wildfires probably in the next couple of weeks. So it's good.
Feels like summer.
Yeah.
I got to say, Texas is on fire, and their power grid is failing again. It seems we've got a power grid that can neither function in, extreme cold or extreme heat. It's just got to be, it's a fussy little boy. It's got to be right in the just warm enough section, but not too cold.
just a giant bear lying in a bed going, I'm too hot, I'm too cold. That'd be quite good, actually.
Are you calling Goldilocks a bear?
Yes.
Oh,
that was
in fairness to Rob, it was like, the mummy bear was the middle one, right?
Yeah.
Surely?
Yes.
No, you win this one, Rob.
Anyway, because of all this catastrophic heat wave, which is a good heat wave, the electricity use has gone through the roof because everybody's obviously turned their air conditioning unit on, which means that the people who have entered themselves in the Smart Savers Texas plan operated by a company called Energy Hub. They were given some discounts, and they, as far as I understand, they also entered some lotteries or something. And in exchange for this, they got a smart thermostat like Google Nest and sort of digital, smarty pants ones. And they signed an agreement for data use, etc., so the energy company could measure the energy use, etc., etc. However, what they only found out in the last couple of days is that buried in there is a clause that allows the company Energy Hub to manipulate your smart thermostat in periods of high energy demand. So they can turn up the temperature in your home remotely to take pressure off the energy grid.
Oh, so it's Skynet again, like we were discussing the other week. Excellent.
Yes.
Skynet, but homegrown. Excellent.
Yeah, it's just sign on the dotted line, don't worry about what the small print says.
The robots may or may not cook you alive in your own home.
Yeah, it's simple. It's everything's bigger in Texas, including the symptoms of heat stroke.
Yeah, they spoke to one guy whose house, the temperature had been jacked up, the thermostat had been jacked up to 25 degrees Celsius.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, which was still cooler than the outside, but the guy apparently said that his newborn daughter and his wife were taking a nap, and obviously they needed the aircon on to keep cool. But Energy Hub and the smart thermostat knew better than them, which is good news for the future.
This is why we live in a neoliberal democracy where we have the smartest people making all of the decisions, including AI.
I mean, by definition, it's smart because it's a smart meter, right? That's how it works.
Yeah, they called it smart, so it must be smart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of waste and the wonders of the capitalist economy, I don't know if you guys saw this thing. This was from ITV News, I think, yesterday by Richard Pallett, a new report that on Amazon...
Oh, is this about Amazon?
Yeah, this is about Amazon.
I've got to say, that guy's name is extremely appropriate.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Richard Pallett.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like Terry Landfill or something.
Yeah.
Fill in the landfill with pallets sounds like. Go on, Rob.
So Amazon, in at least one warehouse distribution center that we know of, one of 24 in the UK, have been destroying surplus stock, which includes COVID PPE, good quality masks, laptops, smart TVs, electric shavers, everything. And they do this because they run out of room in the site, especially from the sub-sellers who have an Amazon-like storefront, and they keep their items at the distribution center because it's obviously cheaper for them. And rather than pay for like return postage when the site gets too full, they just say to Amazon, no, just destroy it. Apparently,
that's great. I mean, this is great because I don't think it comes as a surprise to anyone that in order to maintain the status quo, you cannot get rid of these things by giving them to people that would use them. You have to actually destroy them. Otherwise, you might destabilize some, like consumer good, and people go, actually, these are extremely cheap.
Yeah, well, you can't fuck with the market. You know what I mean? That would be outrageous. We'll just invent a second South America that we can invade for lithium or some shit, and it'll all work out in the end.
Well, I mean, look, capitalism has already...
South America.
I mean, capitalism is already the most efficient way of distributing resources. So, these...
distribute them right into the landfill.
As famously documented in Grapes of Wrath, there are no problems with overproduction in capitalist societies.
No.
None.
Absolutely none. Items, by the way, are sent to a specific destruction zone at the Dunfermline Distribution Center, which sounds very...
the little known Sonic the Hedgehog level.
Half of them are like still unopened and still in their original wrappers. So it's not like they're just drawing like half manky returns, or just good quality returns. And if you look at the footage, we'll put a link in the show notes. Like you can see like tubs, like not tubs, but like huge bins, like I don't know, with a diameter of I think 2 or 3 meters, about 4 or 5 meters high, that are just being driven with a lorry load to like a recycling center or simply just a landfill. And ITV spoke to a former employee, and they said that the target when they were working there was to have give or take 130,000 items to the destruction zone every week. Every week.
Hell.
What I'm hearing is that like we should start knocking over these lorries.
That can't be
a
that
nice
hard.
little learner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're probably, I don't know. A part of me thinks there must be some employees who are making out with some pretty good cheap gear. But another
you
part of
would
me
imagine.
thinks, well, see, you think that, but then the other part of me thinks, yeah, but capitalism wouldn't like it if that was happening, so there's probably some very bullshit procedures just designed to, like, you know how the fucking supermarkets pour bleach on the food they throw out in the skip? There's going to be something like that, I guarantee you, but for the electronic equivalent.
Yeah, but it's like who watches The Watchmen though, innit? You know what I mean? It's like you just they go, oh, you've got to follow these procedures, and you just go, yeah, all right, then, and then you steal a bunch of tellies and sign the form that says the procedures are followed.
Yeah, well, you say that, Jamie, but do you remember when Sports Direct was like basically frisking employees on their way into work and out of work, and like they weren't being
Amazon's
paid for that time
that
either.
shit. I mean, Amazon has like those
yeah.
total recall body scanners to make sure you don't make off with a crisp that like fell off
Oh,
the
is that
truck or something.
are those the fucking the ones that they have in like the airports that like outline your dick and your boobs?
I'm not familiar with the particular type of scanner, but that also wouldn't surprise me. So yeah, I mean, it's just I'm very happy to see that Amazon is still a vastly profit-making engine that can just throw away hundreds of thousands of perfectly good items. I should note, by the way, that under current UK legal rules, none of this is illegal. You can just do that. It's fine. The UK government doesn't actually tell you to stop that, even though in France, I think last year they did pass a law that said if you have perfectly good quality electronics or other products, you're literally not allowed to just bring them to recycling. You have to donate them or like put them to constructive use. You can't.
I mean,
bring them to
are we
recycling.
again? Are we at all surprised that that's the case here? Whenever something utterly egregiously awful like this happens, I'm just like, yep, that's almost certainly legal. And what do you know? It is perfectly legal to throw away hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of electronics just because you've run out of space for them. Excellent.
Yeah, ITV also had like a very quick interview where they put this situation to Boris Johnson. And they said, what do you think about this? Are you going to do anything about it? And he just literally...
No.
He did the usual politician thing. It was just like, we'll look into it. I haven't seen the matter. But like his entire posture, everything about it, he's just like, he couldn't give a shit. He could just...
Fucking
like,
Alan Partridge shrug, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're to believe the stories, then back when he was at university in a Bullingdon club, he burnt a £50 note in front of a homeless person, which is quite a common rite of passage for that society. So, of course he's not going to give a slightest flying fuck about destruction of assets. He did it to spite the poor and not for profit.
Yeah. I mean, it's just... it's not like we're living on a planet where, temperatures in the United States are reaching boiling point already and we're not at the hottest summer yet. So, it's fine. We can just continue to extract shit out of the ground and make Amazon employees piss in a bottle because otherwise they miss their targets to bring, items to the destruction zone. It's fine. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
I don't believe that £50 note story as well. I think that's like the sanitized version that they tell everyone and go, yeah, we used to burn 50. I think they used to burn tramps in front of money. That sounds more their speed. You know what I mean?
Boris, bring the giant owl statue over here. Just kind of.
Damn it! I was literally about to make the giant owl joke. God damn it, James.
What can I say? The mind virus is communal at this point.
Why is there an owl involved? What I missed here?
You'll see, Alistair's not on as toxic a dose as we are.
Yeah,
clearly.
it's there's a get together of very senior politicians and business leaders every year or every other year. It's somewhere in California.
Bohemian Grove, it's called. Yeah,
and essentially it's like a big sort of. All the CEOs and other vampire cunts let their hair down for a few days, and the final thing is like a big banquet and toga party in front of a giant wooden statue of an owl.
Oh, for fuck's
I could actually
sake.
talk to you about all the ritual stuff. They're meant to
Have you
be
been?
emulating
Is that why?
care. Yeah, just me in a giant owl costume taking frantic notes, hoping they don't notice that I've snuck in, sort of thing. No, it's documented online, and like is one of my many weird hobbies is I read up on esoterica of rituals and stuff like that. I know a fair bit of Masonic stuff as well, despite not being a Mason. So. But maybe I shouldn't have admitted that on record.
I've got a feeling that at some point you should say, "Oh yeah, I am a warlock, though."
Well, 12 no less. Anyway, no, we had a warlock on the podcast, but he was replaced by a cop prospector. So,
oh, indeed.
Yeah, so it's just good news all around. But the more hilarious part that I want to talk about next is the amazing results in Chesham and Amersham, the local elections, which is fucking amazing.
It went really well for everyone involved.
It went extremely well. Labour got not just rinsed, but absolutely hosed out the window. Because everybody voted Lib Dem and they won against all expectation. And Labour got 622 total votes, and apparently the local constituency party is 600 members. So they got
I do want to say, all the fucking, mashed potato brain takes of how this is somehow not an unmitigated catastrophe for Keir Starmer's Labour, as though.
See, when they say that they got 600 members, they don't. It'll be the 600 people they're still sending fucking emails to, even though they stopped the direct debit last year.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great because how in what way is anyone who's got two functioning brain cells to rub together can you convey the idea that the main opposition party in England losing its deposit in a seat is good or nothing to worry about? It's fucking insane.
It proves that tactical voting works. So, at the next election, we'll have all sorts of that shit to contend with, won't we?
I'm just waiting for Labour's falling vote share and the gradually rising NIP vote share to pass each other, so I can stick my fingers out the window and flip them off, sort of thing. It's going to be fun, cool, and good.
See, the problem with the Lib Dems is there'll be no fucking living with them after this. Do you know what I mean? At the next election, it'll be like, oh, you've got to do the tactical voting. We know that fucking this party here has a 20 million seat majority or some shit, but vote for the Lib Dems. We got one vote last time, but this time we're going to win it because tactical voting. Don't you remember when that fucking dipshit came out with his tiny clown's hammer and knocked over a wall? Do you know what I mean? Right,
can I just take a moment to talk about this? Because I watched this and I was are you fucking joking? So we had the Lib Dem leader and we had a big blue wall next to him made of unmortared bricks, except for blue boxes or whatever, and then a tiny yellowish orange hammer that he used to knock it through. And what kind of incompetent person, when they're setting up this photo op, doesn't just buy a sledgehammer and dunk it in yellow paint to dry? You've got time to set this up. You know you're going to win in advance. You clearly are arranging this photo op. It's got to be a sledgehammer. It's got to be a sledgehammer to at least make it look vaguely kind of action orientated and, that kind of stuff. But instead we'll just use a hammer, a claw hammer, a wee bitty claw hammer.
Do you trust it? Was it a claw hammer? I thought it was just a little.
It was just a little Fisher Price bargain ass hammer.
Oh, was it? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but
do you trust? Do you trust some fucking arsehole from the Lib Dems to swing a sledgehammer in a crowded room and not pick out at least 6 people?
It wouldn't be a Lib Dem photo op or bit unless it was extremely cringeworthy prop work.
Well,
yeah, I suppose.
And also,
I suppose.
Another bargain version of something that other parties did better. Because what I was remembering was Boris Johnson driving through another styrofoam wall, but in an actual truck or digger or whatever the fuck it was with Brexit written on it.
It was,
which was equally stupid, but a lot more dramatic. Which,
visually appealing at the very least.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Willie Rennie. Right? It's Willie Rennieism has escaped containment in Scotland and has fled south of the border, but it's a joyless strain of it, It doesn't have the sheer naked childlike glee of Willie Rennie's photo shoots. Instead, it's just, we'll knock through a blue wall on camera. Yeah, sounds good, but it's, it's not going to the racetracks. It's not sitting on a beach in a giant yellow deck chair, an emphasis on giant, reading stories to a crying child until their mother comes and takes them back.
Yeah,
it's not going down a slide with a bunch of terrified-looking kids. It's like, it's not got the joy. It's not got the whimsy to it.
I like seeing Willie have a nice time,
He just seems very happy, and I like that for him. I genuinely
He's just glad to be there.
Yeah. It's just, he feels involved, They gave him a little, next time they're just going to give him like a big lollipop and a sailor's outfit, and he'll fit right in. It'll just be good.
I mean, he literally has dressed up as Marty McFly from Back to the Future and posed beside a DeLorean. Like, that's an actual photo shoot that actually happened, that they really put out, and I'm not hallucinating this.
I thoroughly enjoyed it when you were all speaking about that on the first Scott Poll episode.
I mean, with the amount we talked about, it might have been the first SNP episode. But seriously, you can contrast that with I'm going to knock in this wall very shoddily with a child's hammer, and it's just not the same.
Yeah,
it's just not the same.
It doesn't have the same vibe.
I mean, the worst part of that fucking photo shoot is the fact that it was a blue wall.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Everything's going to be the X wall from now till till the oceans boil us all. Do you know what I mean? And it's just such fun. I mean, the red wall isn't a thing. Do you know what I mean?
It's all contrived bullshit.
Yeah. But now it's the blue wall, and then when the Tories take that seat back, they'll fucking do you know what I mean? Airstrike a yellow wall or some shit, and just on it goes forever, and until we all die. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's some new
videos.
videos.
Why can't we just skip all the intermediary steps and just fucking napalm the entire island?
I mean, I am extremely here for the Napalm Island party. However, I wonder what the acronym of that is. Anyway, for real though, I actually think the Lib Dems, they had a germ of a good idea there.
Sorry, I'm enjoying that gag for a moment. I'm just taking a minute.
Fucking the satellite delay to Switzerland there.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think they had a germ of a good idea, because obviously they want to make this into more of an event than it actually is for them. So they're implying, their idea is, look, there's this big blue wall that no one has ever been able to break through, and finally we've smashed it. Kind of attempts to add some gravitas to the situation, where in reality it's just, Labour are complete shit. Guess we'll protest vote with the Lib Dems? Yeah, I guess we will. They can't exactly campaign on that.
In what universe would this shit add gravitas to any situation? It's like fucking CBeebies version of politics. Do you know what I mean? Bob the Builder's going to get his cartoon hammer and just knock over some boxes.
I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's not that the Lib Dems are the CBeebies of politics. It's and I apologise, Rob, but the Lib Dems are the Eurotrash of British politics,
they are.
right?
That's correct. No, that's absolutely correct.
The old channel of, was it Channel 5 or Channel 4? I'm showing my age here.
I don't know.
I think it was Channel 5. Was it Channel 4? Okay.
I thought it was BBC 2, but it definitely predates Channel 5. I know that much. So
okay. Well, whichever way it is, it's that old show doing British politics.
No, Eurotrash was Channel 4. The other thing that guy was on was BBC 2.
Okay.
Rapido, maybe, or something.
Yeah, it sounds vaguely right. It's a very long time ago here.
Does he know the postman?
Speaking of Eurotrash.
Did we even fucking explain that on the pod?
No,
I don't think we did.
Or are we legally able to?
Sure.
No, I think let's just tell everyone it's on the bonus episode. Listen to the bonus episode if you want to understand that joke.
But anyway, the Lib Dems have formed for doing this, which is basically to win a by-election and then just completely fuck it up at an actual national level at the next general election.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, they'll let this go to their head, as they always do, because, from now on, it'll be Ed Davey thinking he's going to be the next PM, like fucking Joe Swinson did.
If he fucking starts calling himself the real opposition, I know Labour's obviously fucking dog shit, but it just properly winds me up when they're calling themselves this shit because, we're doing the stuff that Labour can't do, which is win a single seat. I mean, how many seats are Lib Dems on now? What
I want to see is the Unreal opposition.
What, are they all playing Unreal Tournament?
They all have to play Instajib. You know what I mean?
That would rule so hard. I miss Unreal Tournament 2004.
Doing rocket jumps in the House of Commons would significantly liven up PMQs.
Ready Politician 1, is that what we're doing?
No, Ready Player One was fucking shite. I just want to see
Video games.
in the House of Commons.
Fuck Ready Player One, quite frankly. No, Rob's just wanting everyone to
Play video games in.
the House of Lords. That's what this is.
Yeah, there we go.
Have
Can I
fun
just say
editing
though
this
as well?
episode, David.
I think the reason Ed is David editing this? Fucking hell! Right, okay, the brakes are off now, children.
Hi, David.
Yeah, I think the reason Ed Davey had to use that little like child's hammer from a
for
Fisher
fuck's
Price
sake.
playset is because the real hammer was currently being used by Joe Swinson to murder squirrels.
You think the Lib Dems have to share one hammer between them?
Yeah, it's like the mammal killing hammer.
I think
By this point, she's probably worked her way up to dogs. You reckon?
No, she's.
We couldn't possibly
it's
speculate.
It's a thing for her, right? It's clearly some kind of disorder that's very focused. I don't think it's like a serial killer progression thing. I just think it's a genuine
Nah, it is,
psychopathic
like,
hatred of
right,
squirrels.
Right now, she's on a riverbank somewhere fucking up a load of otters.
In conclusion, let's make politics more like Unreal Tournament and like have the government get actual flack from an actual flak cannon from the press. That would be pretty good. Or have the press get hit with an actual flak cannon. Basically, bring back flak cannons is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I to be fair, I do feel bad for Keith this week because it's hard when people very near and dear to you who are very close to you are forced by circumstance to not work with you anymore. Jenny Chapman has
only work with you.
And only work with them. Jenny Chapman has unfortunately been removed from his office. She's now the new shadow Brexit person. Apparently putting...
Is that an official title, is it? Shadow Brexit person.
Yeah.
Just lurking in the corner.
I think if you're shadow Brexit, you have to loom over the entire room. I think you've got to cast a shadow on all proceedings. Isn't that how Brexit works? I'm not sure.
I know it has something to do with a haunted mirror, so maybe having a shadow person there might be good.
The main duties of shadow Brexit person is confiscating all the hammers from the Lib Dems.
So if you collect all the hammers, you get to be a real person again.
You just protect the wildlife. You know what I mean? It's like they think if they reap enough souls, they'll be able to conjure a portal to the non-Brexit dimension.
This is
but it's gonna end up like Event Horizon. They probably shouldn't fuck with it.
This is the dark, gritty reboot of Captain Planet, isn't it?
Yeah, why not?
By these hammers combined. Oh no. We definitely we're melting in the heat, and without David present, there's something very weird and cursed going on tonight.
We are very off road at the moment.
Oh, this is absolutely going to be 10 minutes long by the time we're fucking finished with that. I can hear it in Rob's voice. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not doing a fucking edit. It's David's problem.
Yeah, I can hear that in your voice.
To be fair, that's
nothing
because,
to lose.
It's because you teed it up, motherfucker.
I thought we stopped talking about Unreal Tournament.
Anyway, but yeah, the Batley and Spen also seems to be going very well. I mean, I know that's when's the election there again? I forget the date of that one.
July 1st, I think.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about two
hats?
Galloway?
I'm not sure. Due to advice from our solicitor, I'm not sure we can proceed on that topic.
Why is he gonna drive by one?
In answer to your question,
I mean, he is armed and dangerous, so he might. You never know.
Rob, in answer to your question, after that bit that almost definitely isn't making it in, the date for the by-election is the 1st of July.
But yeah, apparently Galloway has 6% of the vote, and apparently Labour is down by exactly 6%. So I'm not saying it's 100% switch, but it is fucking hilarious. And we do have to say on the side, on the non-libelous side about George Galloway, that he is just a massive fucking opportunist prick who you shouldn't fucking trust to drink your bathwater, let alone anything else. It just...
I'll be honest.
He would absolutely drink your fucking bathwater if you gave him the slightest chance.
I wouldn't trust anyone to drink my fucking bathwater. I don't know what you get up to in Switzerland, Rob. Is that what the cast? Is that what all the Butlers are for? I don't know.
I'm just loving the idea that he has to do a background check on the person who's come to drink his bathwater before he lets them into the castle. Have to make sure they're trustworthy for this important fucking job.
Well, how else are you going to get rid of that shit?
I mean, to me, the amazing thing is, and like, it's just Galloway's been doing this in seats with like a large minority Muslim population ever since the Iraq War. And like, the answer is not to piss and moan about George Galloway being George Galloway. The answer is don't be such a bunch of fucking dickheads as Labour, and then this guy doesn't happen. But because they have to be dickheads, Galloway keeps happening.
Yeah.
See, I know Alistair's question was rhetorical, but I imagine you could get rid. Like when you say how else are you going to get rid of that shit? I'm picturing Rob turning up at the fucking Amazon landfill with a tanker full of bathwater now.
We should be selling that shit on the Patreon, really.
Yeah, you used bath.
Wasted opportunity.
My used bathwater, that'd be fucking amazing sales. Can we put that on the Teespring, you reckon, Jamie?
Can you make water into a t-shirt?
If this makes it into the episode, I will make you a t-shirt. That's the podcasting praxis guarantee right fucking there. If David keeps any of this shit, you can have a fucking t-shirt, mate.
What will you learn? What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
Apparently there's also going to be another by-election in Wakefield. I have no idea what that is.
Maybe, question. That's not confirmed yet.
I've got relatives in Wakefield. Fun side fact there for you. I know where that is.
So where is that then? Is that where your relatives live?
It's in Yorkshire. Yeah, it's in Yorkshire.
But yeah, apparently
it's very, very grey.
Apparently the sitting Tory MP might be standing down, should I say it like that, James? Because he's been accused of sexually assaulting a 15-year-old boy.
Like, he's not going to stand down unless it actually goes to trial and, he's actually done for it.
Do you reckon if it ever came out in evidence or whatever, just one of those guys that just texts, hey, hi, how's it going? Which is all because these regardless of whether they're doing wrong things or not, these people just don't know how to speak to actual human beings, let alone a child.
I feel like we've really lost the energy now. You know what I mean? Go back to fucking George Galloway's Punisher.
I mean, I watched that Owen Jones thing where he went to Batley and Spen, and Galloway does come across as like an utterly untrustworthy prick. I mean, extraordinary.
I mean, the thing that Galloway's got going for him is that some people vaguely remember him being somewhat anti-imperialist, or anti-American imperialism, like in the aftermath of like the Iraq War, which is kinda the reality, but like obviously once you realise what he actually is.
I'm gonna do a joke based on the fucking cover of an anime like VHS I saw in fucking like HMV about 30 years ago.
Okay,
but,
go for it.
George Galloway in like someone should Photoshop George Galloway into Gunsmith Cats.
There's going to be like if one of our if you got that, dear listener, let us know.
Yeah.
I don't think that joke probably what I'm going to get instead of people go like one person going, oh, that was a really good joke, thanks. I'm probably going to get like 100 letters going, actually that's not what Gunsmith Cats is about. It's a common misconception, but
it's not actually about George Galloway.
After the mill dorks, it's the anime dorks.
I remember the title, and so I'm just hoping it's about cat girls with guns, because then it, like, you know what I mean, my George Galloway joke works. If not, don't bother telling me, because I don't care. You know what I mean?
Please write into @coprespector420.
If anyone does, I'm just going to redo that old tweet about like fucking, you know what I mean, powering up like Naruto from Dragon Ball Z.
Should we knock this fucking bit on the head?
Yeah,
now.
Let's. I was going to do a thing about Brexit, but it's boring, and I don't think it's going to carry the energy. So I thought, for a change, because we haven't done one in a while, I thought we'd do.
Is there any way to tie it into Unreal Tournament?
No, none whatsoever.
Then fucking bin it.
We'll see where we end up, Jamie.
Yeah. And I thought instead, because we haven't done one in a while, we haven't done a good reading series in a while, and I've prepared a particularly cursed offering for you that I think we'll all get a good kick out of. This time, it comes again from America, home of good content. This time, it's not the Orlando Sentinel, it's the Columbus Dispatch that I shall be reading from you.
That's not a real thing.
Now, again, it sounds like a fucking Dark Souls boss, right?
It's
really
the newspaper
does.
of the Shadow Realm.
Is anything that comes out of Japan the same to you, Rob? Like fucking Yu-Gi-Oh, Dark Souls, like that anime that Jamie was talking about. Yeah, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, it's all,
I mean, it basically all is Berserk when you get down to it. But anyway, carry on, Rob.
All right, so this is an opinion piece written by Roger Valdez, and the title is Landlord, Feudal, Outdated Term that helps paint housing providers as villains.
Oh, fuck all the way off.
Oh, yeah, I feel like I've just wrapped my fists in, a nice comforting layer of, bandages, and I'm applying the glue, and I'm rolling them in broken glass in anticipation. Has
Has anyone ever explained to this guy what a fucking landlord is?
Yeah, many times, as we'll get to this piece. First of its kind legislation has been proposed in Ohio to change references in state law from landlord and tenant to housing provider and resident. It may seem like a small change.
Yeah, that'll make everyone hate him less.
It may seem like a small change, but the shift is tectonic for housing. Oddly, the proposal will prove controversial, you don't say.
Can I just try and prefigure this? Is changing the language from landlord and tenant to whatever it is
housing provider and resident?
Yeah, is that just going to undercut hundreds of years of tenant protections?
Probably. I'm not sure yet, but speaking of ancient wording, this is the next line of the article. It would mean feudal terminology would be replaced in order to reflect the real relationship between people who provide and people who need housing. Often...
In what manner do they provide housing? They've done nothing!
Yeah. They should really update it to reflect the relationship by changing it to bastard and victim.
Between Otter and Swinson.
I'm going to be real blunt. The feudal terminology is very accurate. So, to obfuscate the actual material arrangement, I think you will find would be the correct. But let's go with this. Let's see where this. Yep. Okay, we're strapped in now. Rob he's put us all on the rails of this thing, and we're trundling up towards the top of the ramp, and we only just realised that this roller coaster doesn't have an end. So go on, Rob.
Often, housing providers in Ohio and across the United States
is it going to go the whole article calling them housing providers?
Yes. Often. Sorry, I'll use Jamie's updated terminology. Often,
please God.
Often, bastards in Ohio and the United States are small family-owned businesses, not powerful land barons. Updating language is an important first step to accurately reflect this in the law, and it should lead to better policy.
Why?
Because
because the people doing this, they're magicians and words matter, and to change the name of a thing to evoke a different symbol is to manifest a difference in the substance of the thing, clearly, and that's the basis on which laws are made.
This is
right?
from book 3 of the Freemasons, isn't it, James?
No, actually, you don't want to go down that rabbit hole, Rob, trust me. We've already gone way off board anyway.
Overall, about half of the 45 million rental units in the United States are owned and operated by individual, ordinary people, NHS nurses and the like. Of those, a Harvard study found that a decline in low-cost units brought the national housing stock down all across the country. Essentially, there's not enough low-cost housing anymore because it's all just been
I wonder who's responsible for the removal of low-cost housing. I wonder if they are in any way connected to bastards.
If you ask the people who provide these small portfolios of housing, i.e., NHS nurses with one spare apartment, why low-cost housing options are disappearing, they will cite the swarm of rules and regulations combined with the COVID-19 eviction bans encouraging residents to withhold rent.
Oh, eat my entire
Once
arse.
again, it is.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, there's just too much. There's just too many regulations. It's far too difficult. I'm gonna withhold this house that I've got. Like, are you fuckers?
Yeah.
Like,
Once
you know
again,
what I mean?
The ideal outcome. Ideal outcome for these fuckers is that regulations are cut back to such a point where the only box that is big enough for you to live in is a literal coffin.
Yeah,
and it costs the same as well.
I mean, essentially what it means is that the victims are, if you think about it, the real perpetrators. Worse, these small businesses, i.e. being a bastard, many operated by people of colour serving other people of colour, have been made the villain in anecdotal stories about evictions. Meanwhile, bastards who rent single homes are seeing the value of their assets skyrocket.
Sorry, did he just casually pick up a whole group of minorities and use them as shielding? Did I just happen in that exchange? I'm pretty sure it did.
It really is just layer upon layer of obfuscation. You can't be mad at these bastards because some of them are people of colour.
Yeah.
Quick chaff grenade of colour.
A rainbow coalition of bastards from across the realm.
The thing that gets me about like the complaints about regulations and stuff is like how much of modern capitalism is like based on just fucking like complaining to the manager.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can't make enough money by just like ruthlessly exploiting all the Earth's resources that people need to survive. We're also going to complain to like the government that like it's just too difficult to like make all this money hand over fist.
Yeah.
So instead, they're going to like change the rules just because, like, then you know what I mean. We can like get a bit more money out of it.
I mean, you just approach the Ohio regulators and say, "Look, we just want to take away the small clause that says we cannot harvest the blood of our victims when they fall behind in rent."
Yeah, it's like it's either complaining and asking for the rules to be changed, or it's finding a pretext under which to ignore the rules, but claim that you're doing a whole new thing that the rules don't apply to. See also disruption, technological, right? Like that's it. That's modern capitalism.
Which is just,
but yeah, it's just like I rent out these like 60 homes to like to in total about 10,000 people. Do you know what I mean? We've got them living in like cupboards and stuff. And frankly, it's disgraceful. You know what I mean? Disgraceful that I'm only allowed to write 2 articles a month in the New York Times about how people used to live without an indoor toilet. Where's America's frontier spirit gone?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The pressure to simply sell a rental house to a buyer who will live in it is enormous. This is a dangerous.
Then do it. Then do it! It's not hard. If it sucks so much to be a fucking bastard, then just sell your fucking
Just stop being a
properties.
Bastard. Just not, nobody's making you do this. George Galloway doesn't have a gun to your head and tell you to make you be a bastard.
Look, I managed to go...
Have you considered not being a bastard?
I managed to go every single day without owning any rental properties, and I don't see why it's so hard. Bastards selling their houses to a buyer, this would be a dangerous loss of low-cost housing supply, To what?
Low cost is doing a lot of fucking work there, I have to say.
That presumes that nobody's going to be living there. It's only lost if the house disappears. Or the home disappears. These fucking useless assholes have no object permanence. It's like, it's not my portfolio anymore, therefore it doesn't exist.
Well, and it's also like if everybody sold the fucking houses, then the fucking value would crater and then actual normal human beings could actually fucking live in it. But no, these bastards have to squat on them vampire-like forever and like tell you that it's your fault when the mold comes creeping through the fucking walls.
I'm sorry, I've just got an idea of like a Serbian vampire doing like a squat and in a pair of trackies, and it's very appealing to me.
I'd like to send a Soviet vampire to deal with all the landlords, to be perfectly honest. Just like, let them, there is a good idea for a movie or story there about a Soviet vampire who wakes up from, after being staked in the heart during like the 80s or something, he wakes up and, he sees the world has gone to hell. And he's been transported to America by like looting of, the People's Museum or something like that.
Vampire mouth. There you go.
That's some really immortal teachings. That's great.
No, wouldn't it be great though? Like, the only ethical way he can proceed is to be a parasite to parasites. That'd be pretty great. I could get behind that.
Eviction is a rare occurrence. In Cincinnati, data became available that only 1% of the more than 160,000 rental units in the city were subject to eviction. So that's 1,600 units every year, which means more than 5 a day, of families being chucked at their fucking home.
Can I check for what period?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Right.
I'm assuming it wasn't 2009,
10,
or since COVID, or before COVID.
Well, I'm not sure why 2009 and 10 would be the... David... I don't know. Oh, never mind. I just called you David, so I can't do the bit now.
Wow.
I was gonna say Rob. Did you just mix up 2019 and 2020? But my brain just immediately went into.
No, you can tell it's Rob because he's posted it in the wrong channel.
Yeah, no.
Eviction is a costly, lengthy, and emotionally draining last resort, especially.
Okay, I've got. Wait. Well, I've got a solution. Then don't do it.
Especially for smaller family business serving other families.
Then don't do it. It's a very, very simple solution.
Fuck, do you know what? I'm not having this where they do you know what I mean? Kicking a family out of their fucking, like, only shelter is do you know what I mean? It's torturous. It's like taking Old Yeller out behind the barn, do you know what I mean? Like, woe is the fucking, like, bastard who does this. Fuck off. Do you know, I'm currently growing extra arms so I can flip more birds at this prick.
It also, fortunately, doesn't happen very often, even during the COVID crisis. It's like, no, motherfucker, because there's a rent ban that you were complaining about 2 paragraphs up. Jesus
and it still
Christ.
happens too often.
Yeah.
See, that's why I'm wondering if this figure is for during the COVID crisis, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? And that sort of seems to confirm it, which means that it was probably a lot higher pre-COVID. But sure, why not? Let's keep going.
Changing the term landlord would mean laws in Ohio would reflect this reality. People who work hard every day to serve their customers are housing providers, not impersonal wealthy interests bent on eviction.
I'm sorry, every single time.
Work hard every day, landlord. Work hard every single day.
Wake up and grind.
Landlord.
Every day.
I just want to say on the topic of hardworking landlords, I've lived in the flat that I've lived in for 6 years now, coming up to 6 years. The sink in the bathroom has been smashed down one side. Still usable, luckily, but it's very fucking sharp and dangerous if you touch it.
There's your victim mentality at play again, I was listening.
Yeah, just don't touch it. Yeah. Problem solves itself.
Have you considered not living in the substandard property?
Well, I have considered it, but I have actually grown quite accustomed to living indoors.
Yeah, well, see, I mean? Maybe this sounds like you should really, I mean, if it is so much of an inconvenience for you to live there with all these, like, minor problems, like just a smashed sink.
Move to that haunted Mr. Blobby theme park. No one's using that.
Yeah, just continue to pay your landlord and leave.
Perfect.
See, when you said rise and grind there as well, that fucking clown on Twitter the other day where it was like, if someone offered me, like, you know what I mean, the gross national product of China, or five quid a year for the rest of my life, I'd take the £5 and people had to point out to them whether it would take like 11,000 years to make the same amount of money or whatever.
So someone he
was
posted,
like, no, but you could spend it on tomatoes.
Oh, this is the tomato guy. Oh, basically, yeah, fucking hell.
Yeah. Someone suggested, like, you said, if I had to choose between £1 million now or £50 a year for the rest of my life, I'd take the £50 because it's all about that passive income, baby. And then people had to do the math to show how long it would take for that £50 a month to equal $1 million.
Do you know what, though? The pro tip is if someone gives you £1 million and then you just take, like, some of that money every week, that's passive income, and it's all about that passive income, baby.
I know, right? It's so stupid. This set me off on Twitter, actually.
But if you bought like $1 million tomatoes, and then like fucking, you know what I mean? They had tomato babies, and then like, you know what I mean?
Pretty soon
like,
the earth would be covered in tomatoes, and they'd all be yours.
Yeah.
So you're saying basically that capitalism is a system whereby you have two cows, right?
Fuck off.
I feel like I'm missing context or something there, but no,
it's a laser-targeted joke on Rob there.
Capitalism's the system where you have 1 million tomatoes and everyone calls you that tomato fucker.
You fuck one tomato and then...
Well, how else are you going to get them pregnant to make tomato babies? You figure that out, like, do you know what I mean?
What I don't get is where does the beans come in? Like, we've got the tomato sauce, clearly. That's covered. What about the beans?
That's a different podcast episode altogether, Rob. James,
Jesus
sorry.
Christ.
Can we just not keep names straight tonight, is it?
First paid for Patreon episode goes out and we've blown all the money on drugs already. That's what's happening here.
Do you know, I feel like David is like the proton at the centre of our atom that holds us all together, and we're just a bunch of electrons wildly careening into each other.
David's the cop. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not here. We just found an autonomous zone. That's what's fucking happened. Like
the destruction zone.
All right, I'll try to read another bit from the article.
Just smashing up a bunch of Amazon like plasma tellies with a little dem toy hammer that squeaks every time you hit
Me and
them.
Jamie look at each other. Like, we're meant to be doing a podcast.
I genuinely... I feel like the coherence of this episode is breaking down and the bits are all running into each other.
It's great.
No.
I really like it. Also, I'm fucking sweltering and I'm getting quite drunk of...
Yeah, we don't have to edit it, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah, hello, David. Who will oppose this?
He is going to murder us all. Let's get back to the article.
Will he use a small toy hammer to do it, is my question. No.
Or will he be like...
The entirely fictional Unreal Tournament character
Galloway and shoot us all with his guns?
Fucking hell.
Who will oppose this change in legal wording? Groups that benefit from evictions, like attorneys who represent defendants in such actions. They like the notion that their client is a feudal tenant, bound to the land and subject to the whim of a lord. But if there is a power imbalance... No, wait, before you start. But if there is a power imbalance between consumers and bastards, it isn't the wealth and power of the bastards, it's scarce housing.
Controlled by the bastards! What the hell?
Yeah, now.
Oh. Also, I like when you first started that sentence of who will contest these changes. I was thinking, is that like a rhetorical question? Like, who will rid me of this meddlesome priest? Like, could get behind that.
And I like this. It's such a classical notion that like they did the same with like medical reform in the US as well, like universal healthcare. That like the first thing you have to tackle is the outrageous like payments made by people who've like had the wrong leg chopped off and shit, that like you have to do malpractice insurance first rather than just fixing the fucking housing market and just getting rid of all the bastards. Like, I mean, I haven't done the research because obviously it's not a premium episode, but I'm willing to bet that that like the amount of money attorneys make on housing disputes in low income, like low rent housing is incredibly...
Oh yeah, I imagine that's sky high because, like, I mean, this all sort of feeds into the same fucking mythos of like the welfare queen, the people who are like living at large at like essentially the bottom end of society.
Well, there you say it right, but there it is. There is a feudal term that we really need to get rid of, right? Welfare queen. Because, just that outdated language comes with it with a picture of material arrangements, which is not all reflective of reality. And if it's like that for welfare queen, surely it's like that for landlords too.
I propose that we change welfare queen to welfare king. There's a lot to think about there.
Yeah. Welfare royalty, make it, gender neutral. I think that's more reflective of the age. And
welfare monarch or welfare sovereign. There we
Dole
go.
King 2021.
The thing that pisses me off is like landlords constantly complaining like, oh no, I'm just a small bean landlord. Your problems are with those like large industrial landlords that factory farm the housing or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, no, fuck you, mate. You're all getting the wall.
I mean, that's what we joke, right? But that is what they all want to do. They want to do factory farming tendency. Cram everyone in the smallest space possible and pump them full of antibiotics to keep them paying rent. Like that is
I don't know if you
the dream.
guys saw, but it was, I think, today or yesterday in the news that BlackRock, like one of the largest investment pools of money in the entire world, is getting into like buying.
I thought BlackRock were the private military guys.
That's Blackwater.
No, that was Black.
Yeah, a couple of iterations
ago.
It was Blackwater, then it was XR, then it.
So BlackRock are the guys that did all those RPGs in the 90s.
Yeah, sure, Jamie. Carry on, Rob.
But they're like BlackRock Capital is getting into like rental properties in a big way. They just bought like a giant housing, like a big bastard corporation that owns 16,000 rental properties. So, the next big fucking real estate bubble isn't going to be people with mortgages. It's going to be rent extraction, because they'll just turn up the dial on the rent infinitely until nobody can fucking pay anymore.
Pretty much.
More housing supply means better prices for families who need it and more choices in the market.
I wish whoever the fuck wrote this has never sat down with someone to have explained to them what supply of housing actually means. Again, the object permanence thing is the only thing that can explain any of this.
It also doesn't account for like the vast amount of rental properties, especially in like high rent areas like London and San Francisco and New York and elsewhere.
Oh yeah, I was going to say,
this is fucking empty. It's just standing there because it's an investment product and not really meant for humans to live in.
Yeah, so fucking infuriating whenever landlords just think that they are anything other than a parasite on society. I mean, fucking even Winston Churchill recognised how much of a parasite they were.
Yeah, I think even Adam Smith recognised it as well. Ohio can lead nationally by changing the archaic terminology to reflect the reality of the housing economy. Housing providers, i.e. bastards, work as hard and as close to the margin often as the victims they serve.
I'd show you're working, please.
Yeah. This is more of just fucking.
I mean, you could say anything. There are infinity houses. We've solved the housing crisis. There you go.
Can we change the name of murder so I don't feel so bad when I'm doing it?
Extreme cuddle your bastard today.
Yeah, as we've established before, kiss your boss and cuddle your landlord.
Cuddle him very, very tightly indeed. The best way to solve housing problems is not with adversarial language in the law, but to collaborate.
Oh, adversarial language, my fucking ring piece, you cunt.
but to collaboratively increase the housing supply and options for all Ohioans and Americans.
I love this. I want to collaborate with
you.
But
this is collaboration in the fucking sense of the Saw movies. It's like, I want to play a game. Do you want to live somewhere?
Yeah.
Just get the fucking shock collar on.
Yeah, Jigsaw is an active and valued participant, and the game couldn't happen if he wasn't collaborating with the nice people who he traps in his death machines. That's just how it works.
To have happen is to have everybody in the death machine collaborating with Jigsaw. Because then it would be better. If we just had death traps everywhere, have you considered that as an alternative? Anyway, that's the piece. Just so you know, the author, Roger Valdez, is the director of the Center for Housing Economics, a Seattle-based policy center researching, and James, you'll like this, researching progressive supply-side solutions to housing scarcity.
Supplies. Oh, there it is. Supply-side solutions.
Libertarians,
right,
baby.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds great. I can just hear the Adam Smith Institute just getting a little bit hard at that one. Yeah. That's great. That's fantastic.
This shit's good.
Pro tip, listener, if anyone ever says they're involved in supply-side solutions or anything supply-side economics or anything like that at all, what they basically mean is biased in the interests of capital.
Well, they also have strong feelings about ephebophilia. I think that is something we can definitely say.
Yeah, I bet that the guy writing this article knows the age of consent in every state.
Well, he might very well do. He is a lawyer by training.
I wonder if in all of their research they've ever worked out where it is houses come from. Or are they just like autochthonous? They just spring out of the ground fully formed. They think cavemen just what caves were just what cavemen called like an apartment.
This is. I thought houses were the same as tomato. If you have two houses, they can just infinitely grow more houses.
So Rob just posted a picture of the author in our Discord, and this one is getting reposted on our fucking timeline. So is because it looks like a relative of Gorka, basically.
Jamie's losing his shit over the discovery of this kind of guy.
You can't just post wizards at me, man. What the fuck?
He's a literal goateed villain.
He looks exactly like, right? He got run off Something Awful in 2006 for repeatedly posting asking how to get a skid mark out of a couch.
If you look closer, you'll see this guy in the Goon Camp album.
He looks like a rejected extra from one of the later Harry Potter films, basically. Complete with the fucking green tie and, slightly, ominous expression.
Should we round off this episode? Do you think?
No, because I have something else.
We need to recover it.
Yeah, we can't finish it. We've done 70 minutes, and I think the first 10 minutes of that was me talking about fucking PDFs. So I think we've got an hour here. That's before he cuts 40 minutes of fucking content.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I have one more piece for you instead of comment or commentariat because I think we deserve a change of pace.
Yes, you could say that.
This is.
Are we done? Are we done talking about fucking Gandalf? There are we
talking about
huge fucking rip on Gandalf out of nowhere there?
For our last bit, instead of doing comment or commentariat, I thought we'd make a change. And I found a sort of, what do you call them again? Like advice columns? What are they called again? Ask
Agony Aunt?
Yeah, an Agony Aunt thing.
Agony Aunt,
this is an Agony Aunt thing.
Is this a real one?
Yeah, this is an actual real one. No. This
that?
Is not that terrible skit that we had to cut earlier because it was garbage. But this is the Agony Aunt from a website called Market Watch. And
I'd love to go to a Market Watch to get my agony advice.
Yeah, well, I mean, the guy writing...
There's not this... I can tell you right now, I highly doubt this is going to be middling.
Yeah, just dear Aunt Bastard, all of my victims have unionized. What do I do?
It's not quite that, but shall I just start reading? Unfortunately, I don't have a name for the author, but it would, but that I did. Dear Market Watch, I am 40...
Hopefully they're not a fucking, sorcerer.
I am 49 years old, and my wife is 34. We have 2 children under the age of 2 and twin girls, age 11, from a prior marriage. Their college plans are fully funded, and I save even more for the other 2 kids so they can also go to college. I've had a good career in technology and make about $300,000 a year. We max out.
Jesus. Okay.
We max out all our retirement vehicles, and we have 0 debt aside from our primary home. We also have approximately 8 income residential properties that net us about £6,000 a month, $6,000 per month after all expenses and mortgages. Passive income.
Guillotine.
Go on, just loading the bullets. Carry on.
Our monthly.
Guillotine.
Between me and my wife, we have 1.7 million in pension and savings, and about $500,000 in cash after tax savings in different accounts.
I didn't know fucking Smaug was writing in. Jesus.
So here comes the kicker. I'm 49. My wife is 34. We have 4 kids and have $2.3 million saved. I earn $300,000 a year, but I lose a lot of sleep worrying about tomorrow. When can I retire? So I think this is something I'd like to go by all of you and then ask
would be my answer.
How do you think this guy should retire? Because it sounds like he's in trouble.
Suddenly.
I want to retire and have my wife retire, which sounds incredibly ominous.
It sounds like it's going to like wound her in some way that she can't leave. I don't know why.
When I want to retire and have my wife retire when I am 58, if I'm not forced to retire sooner. I obsess over retirement calculators and see if I can achieve this, but one tells me I'll be fine and the other says I'll be short and run out of money in 20 years.
How?
Fuck knows. I don't...
It always fascinates me when people earn...
Does this motherfucker eat diamonds? What?
Yeah.
No, it's like, I'm sorry, right, okay, actually, I'll answer this one seriously, because what's not been mentioned in this is he's not actually given us his expenses, he's not given us what his outlays
Our monthly target
are.
expenses are between $10,000 and $12,000 on the high end.
A month?
A month.
Right, yes, okay.
Fucking
yeah,
hell, okay.
so, and here's the thing, he's not broken it down, which makes it even harder, right? Because without being able to read that line that says candles $9,000, I'm not sure we can really advise him.
How much do you think he's spending on guillotine insurance?
Not enough.
He's giving all his money to that fucking wizard to change the housing names.
Do you know what? I can't fucking, like, do you know what I mean? I, like, genuinely think my fucking, like, well of hatred is, like, you know what I mean, bottomless for these fucking people. Just imagine writing to a fucking website like, oh, I make more money every month than, like, some people see in a fucking year, and, like, I'm worried it's not enough. Just fucking...
Like, I genuinely, the other day, so I bought a lottery ticket on a whim a couple of weeks ago, and to check it easily, I installed the National Lottery app, which lets you do, like, you just scan the QR code, and it just tells you if you've won or not, or how much. And joy of joys, I won like 11 quid, so great, super, thank you. But I then promptly forgot about it until National Lottery popped up a push notification on my phone to tell me that on Monday there was this set for life kind of thing, this draw. Apparently this is a thing, it's a draw. If you play it, if you win, they give you £10,000 a month of 30 years, basically, right? Wow. That is less than, converted to, like-for-like currency, that's less
especially
than this
because
guy
he already has 2.3 million in assets, which you wouldn't have if you get that lottery. It's incredibly unlikely, at least.
Like, I genuinely, if you give me £10,000 a month, I'm not sure I could spend it all. Genuinely. I'm not sure I could figure out a way to blow that.
Is the Agony Aunt's like suggestion that he saves money on airfare by moving closer to Little St. James?
I mean, the answer of the Agony Aunt is incredibly dull, and it's just like, here's ways to save your money and blah blah blah. I mean, there's nothing interesting that's in there, but it's just like,
you are a very special boy. It's okay.
I want to retire because I'm going to be an older father and love my wife and children very much. So if I can maximize my time with them not working, but not sacrificing too badly on expenditures, So I want to retire. I don't want to do my job anymore. At 58, by the way, none of us on this fucking podcast and anybody listening is not going to fucking retire at 58. I can guarantee you that.
I intend to be dead by 58.
I think we got...
Yeah, like, I strongly suspect that there's two options here, which is either we're going to be dead or we're still going to be recording these fucking podcasts at 58. Like, that's how it's going to go.
And you're going to be there with us, listener.
That's 15 years' time for me, right? And I think by then, the entire United Kingdom will be like just the fucking Amazon destruction zone.
Yeah, we'll all just be taken to the
Also,
Amazon.
Planes just fly over and just drop TVs on them.
It's like small huddled communities that are left that make shelters out of broken down flat screen TVs or some shit. Eating rats and dead squirrels, chasing them with a hammer through the last remaining tree.
Bold of you to assume the squirrel genocide will not have completed by then. Anyway.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild in like the post-apocalyptic times when, like, you know what I mean, mankind or whatever replaces us rises like once more and builds new civilizations. And, like, where we had, like, you know, all the fucking, like, oil made out of dinosaurs, they're just finding all these rare earth metals that we fucking, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, these TVs must be the fossil of some ancient beast. Like, compressed in the fucking, like, in the sediment and turned into, like, fucking lithium batteries or some shit. It's just gonna be fucking mental, you know what I mean?
We keep coming across these sites that say nothing of honour is commemorated here. And we think they're religious sites of some kind, and we found the site, the Holy of Holies, was just this entire island which is covered in these strange formations, and it says nothing of value is buried here.
I was going to say they should definitely put, like, no great deed is esteemed here on the fucking blue passports.
But it's just...
Should be the first line of the national anthem, to be honest, like, you know what I mean? Instead of that fucking, like, better, stronger, or whatever the fuck they were on about today,
Britain,
you know what
Britain,
I mean?
Great Nation, or whatever the fuck that new song, that was
it's just
that fucking
it's great.
horseshit.
It's just Duce, but, like, British flavoured. It's fantastic. I love it.
It's not even that good. Like, that would be so much better if it was Duce. Like, you know, fucking Kim Jong-il or Sun or whatever, which one of you bastards is in charge? Come save me.
Did you just call Kim Il-sung landlord?
I mean, yeah. He's in charge of the state, and if the state owns all the houses, then he is a landlord.
Damn, much to think about there.
Checks out.
Yeah, makes you think.
All right, Rob, give us another
I don't
agony
have
article.
one. This is it. I mean, I could have a look if I could find another fucking one.
Do you want to go and get us some comment or commentary? We'll wait. We'll just fill time. Have an ice cream or something.
Go on, Rob. Have a little trip to conservative women and, like, you know.
Do you know what? Where we're at now? It's that fucking The Simpsons. You know, when Lisa's ringing the Corey hotline, and the lad's just reading the fucking, like, list of words that rhyme with Corey out of the dictionary. That's us right now, because we didn't have an adult present at this recording.
I mean, I really thought that this advice bit would have lasted longer, but then I should have seen it coming. There would have just been guillotines for everybody, which is a perfectly.
No, I mean we did like, I mean you'd think it might have lasted longer, given that, like, you know what I mean, the merest mention of George Galloway gave us like half an hour of solid libel. But apparently we can't just turn it on a whim.
No, you got to. We've got a tolerance. We're like addicts. We've built up a certain degree of tolerance.
Let me actually read a little bit from the Agony Aunt answer. There are some bits in here that are actually worth reading, especially the opening paragraph. Dear reader, even with $1.7 million in retirement accounts and another 500,000 saved, and
don't like that even with at the start there.
And
that doesn't point to good things as far as I can tell.
It's the sound of a gun cocking, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Even with $1.7 million in retirement accounts, an additional 500,000 saved, and multiple income sources, I understand why you may be worried about the future.
Yeah, because there's all these people with pitchforks and, like, scythes that seems to be gathering outside of my fucking mansion.
Yeah, as it turns out, they weren't actually your residents. They were, after all, your victims. You have a family that relies on you, and unexpected twists and turns of a pandemic certainly don't help. The good news is, retirement at 58 may very well be within your reach, financial advisor said. I should fucking hope so. You earn $6,000 a month by being a bastard. Like, can you not retire on six? Fuck. I do want to know this guy's fucking outgoings. That is just fascinating to me. Like, what the fuck he's spending his money on?
He's spending all his fucking money on funding dipshit endeavours like that fucking institute that doesn't know where houses come from.
Yeah. If you just choose to scale back from a full-time job and work a little bit, such as a consultant or freelancing, you could have even more flexibility.
I want to just take issue with the fact that the suggestion that this guy does any actual work.
Well, he works in the tech industry, so, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, so fucking zero. Like that fucking, I think it was some magazine did phoned a bunch of CEOs and C-suite types, and it's 90% of their time is spent in and around meetings where nothing is achieved, and the other 10% is in yoga.
Yeah, it was dinners was 10%
they had to put on. Yeah, they had to basically put on all their non-work activities to make it seem like they had a busy
cracking
week.
a wank out between business calls counts as personal time, and I've got to put that on the fucking pie chart.
Yeah, they were including the commute and lunch and all this other stuff that you would be shot for if you were just the average worker. If you try to get paid for that shit, you'd be on a one-way ticket to the fucking Amazon destruction zone, where the great robot machines just roam around putting people into the fucking Matrix or whatever.
Maybe we will finally end up with those robot dinosaurs like in Horizon Zero Dawn. That would actually be kind of cool, because you could make them out of old televisions. That'd be awesome.
If you could choose your post-apocalyptic future after all of this is said and done, rather than the fucking, annihilation we so richly deserve, you could do worse than the Zero Dawn dinosaurs thing.
That did look kind of cool. I have to, I will be honest.
I wouldn't know, because I don't own a PlayStation. Maybe I should go and steal one from Amazon's landfill.
Well, I mean, the chances are extremely high that in those giant bins there are at least a few of them,
Oh no, almost certain. They've been discounting PlayStation 4s. Full story. I've been trying to get a PlayStation 5, and can I get one? Can I? Fuck. And because of this, I've been typing PlayStation 5 into all websites that I come across.
RedTube, Pornhub. For some reason.
I mean, at this point, sure. I'd we got your PlayStation 5, but it's a bit sticky. At this point, I'll deal with it. Anyway, they've still been popping up PlayStation 4s, and I've just been noticing the numbers getting lower and lower and lower. So, presumably they are headed to the destruction zone at this point.
I do want to say, though...
Do you know the question that, really is being begged to be asked here is, how many new graphics cards do you think are in that landfill? As people queue around the block to spend $4,000 on the latest GeForce because the fucking Bitcoin dipshits, and you know what I mean, and hard drives get ever more expensive because of Bitcoin dipshits, and you know what I mean, and so on and so forth. How much computer technology do you think is in a skip somewhere because
I don't know actually, Jamie, because MSI have re-released a 970, I think it is, GeForce, basically. Basically they're whenever we sell anything new, it gets snapped up right away by Bitcoiners. I guess our only option is to re-release something that's so old that it'd be useless for Bitcoin mining, but might still be sellable.
Do you know what I mean? People keep saying we're gonna do graphics cards that aren't as good for Bitcoin mining. That way the Bitcoin, so they're still gonna fucking buy it. If they had any fucking sense whatsoever, they wouldn't be mining Bitcoin, would they?
I mean, speaking of good sense, though, here is some further good advice from a financial planner called Jeremy Finger.
Oh, mate.
That absolutely sounds like some obscure sexual act, doesn't it? Oh yeah, I gave the Mrs. Jeremy's finger the other night.
Oh. Oh, what has gone into everyone tonight?
Yeah, it's because the three of us.
Absolute lack of oversight is what this is.
I'm on night.
It's just nobody but David can be trusted to manage this podcast because I'm just such a creeping fucking influence on everyone else.
Do you know, honest what it is? I've had such a shit weekend, right? I've had a really, really rough time that this is just like me letting out all the stress in the most inappropriate way possible.
Honestly, this is day 3 of podcasting for me in a row after the premium one, and I did leftover last night, so this is day 3 of me podcasting, and it.
Oh, and I bet you fucking behaved yourself there and all, didn't you? Aye.
He's got like a swear jar, which it's not quite a swear jar, but it's whenever he goes to crack a paedophile joke and he can't, he puts it in the jar, and now he's emptying the jar in this podcast episode.
James just got like some kind of contrarian force field around him. Like if he was caught in the fucking destruction zone of Amazon, all of the fucking destroyed graphics cards would be like reconstituting themselves out of sheer,
Yeah, and badly rendering video.
Anyway, Jeremy Finger had a few other thoughts.
Gotta be careful performing that one. I hear it can end in a prolapse.
I had a few other thoughts on your situation. He suggested consulting an attorney about placing your rental properties in a limited liability company to protect yourself. I.e., if your victims get angry, they just sue the LLC and there's no money in there. So, like, you could just fucking shank your tenants even more.
I'm not even fucking listening at this point. I'm just picturing Jeremy Finger looking at the couch and going, well, if the dry cleaners can't get it out, we'll just have to fucking burn it.
Chuck it in the destruction zone.
Maybe the couch is at the epicenter of the destruction zone. Maybe that's what started that feature, and it's just been drawing defunct things to it ever since.
It emerged from the shadow realm, possibly.
That's an extremely rare Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Yeah.
Do you think our actual post-apocalyptic future is basically going to be Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl, except it's going to be like fucking this destruction zone full of old graphics cards and shit, with people venturing in to find strange artifacts formed by the contrary power of the psychosphere of Jamie's mind as he sleeps eternally dreaming at the centre of it in a sarcophagus made from like an old couch with a stain on it?
I'm going to read you one more sentence from the Agony Odds, and then we're going to knock this fucking episode on the head, because it's maybe my favourite bit, because this is many paragraphs in. If this is not of interest to you, do the work yourself.
The most ludicrous suggestion in that entire response.
Anyway, dear listeners, I hope you have enjoyed whatever the fuck is left of this episode after David gets a hold of it.
Do you want to maybe do that again, like with just a fucking like tiny like crumb of professionalism, just so that David doesn't lose his shit entirely?
I think right.
All right, let me.
Okay,
right.
do it.
Anyway, I think it's about time that we knock this episode on the head. I sincerely hope you've all enjoyed us having several tiny strokes and meltdowns. Before we go, I would like to plug that, as I've just said, I was on Leftover podcast with Arjun and Nikita. This will be out on Thursday, so theirs will be out tomorrow somewhere on Friday, so look out for that, and we'll put a link to their podcast in the show notes because it's a good one anyway. And one more quick reminder for you to subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/PraxisCast, where our first ever premium episode is available, and also put a link to our Teespring store where you can buy many fine t-shirts, some of which will be made available freely or not depending on your mailing in.
Thanks everyone. God help us all.
And remember, be kind to your bastard today. Bye.
Good night.
Yeah. I know you go.
I'm never taking a fucking week off again.